Welcome to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower, where we do our best to give you useful information in 20 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, 5-time Voice Arts Awards nominee, David Brower.
Thanks, Alan. This is David Brower with your 20-minute podcast. Our special guest today from Clearwater, Florida, is Maura Sweeney, and she has got some history, some talent, I don't know what. Welcome to the show, first and foremost, Maura. I've just been looking at your website. I downloaded your book of free quotes, and I've just been kind of hypnotized by everything that you do, where you go, and how you help people, not only in personal relationships, but in so many other ways.
Well, thank you. And I guess that was a nice way of describing a woman of a certain age and a lot of experience. But what I do today, I write, I speak internationally. In fact, tonight I leave on a 1-month trip to 5 new countries I've yet to step into.
Nice.
I was actually born to do what I'm doing today, and that is to be an uplifter for all of humanity, all of society. I have the trademarked Ambassador of Happiness title, and that pretty much encapsulates what I love to do, and that is to help people find what unites us rather than divides us, and to focus inwardly on those thoughts that are uplifting rather than disempowering and depressing.
One of the e-courses I saw that you do is, speaking of happiness, personal leadership, happiness, and authenticity. And without authenticity and integrity, none of us go anywhere, and you obviously bring all of that to the table. So it's fascinating to me that you just travel everywhere and do the right thing by people.
You know what? It's a very long road. Sometimes it's a lonely road. But you know something? Yeah. I couldn't really get away from myself because I always had this sense that people can do better. We as a society could do better.
Yeah.
And really, since my youngest days and throughout my studies, my law school time, my corporate management career, and everything else that came after that, I always noticed that we all know the world can be better, but somehow we give up our own sense of sovereignty and inner knowing, and we default into what everybody else does, or we look to others to fix the world rather than realizing each and every one of us, regardless of where we are. I don't care if we are in charge of the cashier's place at the local grocery store.
Right.
Every single one of us is a person of influence, and we affect the realms, our families, our communities, everywhere around us. But instead, we tend to just default and blame the world and the problems of the world on everyone else, not realizing if we just sometimes make a few small adjustments, we can be catalyzers for the better society, and a happier one, too.
How did all of this come to you after your corporate work, your other careers, businesses, and so on? When did the light switch come on and go, you know what? I need to go make people happy and help them become happy and change their lives and change the world?
Well, 2 short answers. One, that I started with an upbringing that was not happy, and I actually felt I wasn't myself. I wasn't free to be myself. I was being conformed to an image and a persona I wasn't. Namely, I was supposed to grow up to be an attorney, which I didn't want to do. But secondly, I really spent, and I mean this, decades of my life doing the things that others do. So I went through university. I was halfway through law school because before I thought I just can't finish this game.
Right.
I had a decade in corporate management. I helped my husband build a business. I homeschooled a daughter. It was in all of these things, all of my volunteer work. I did all the things that, let's say, society tells us we should do.
You know,
pay the mortgage, all that. But underneath it all, even in university studies, I would always take time to follow those inclinations that were important to me and study things that were important to me, knowing that at some juncture of my life, I would have felt that I had enough personal experience to speak, from the position of experience.
Sure.
And also, my husband used to say to me, what are you waiting for the stars to align before you get out there and start writing?
Isn't that great?
And somehow, I know, he's funny. But the thing about it, David, is that I actually started writing when we had the last downturn in our economy, and a lot of people's lives got shattered. A lot of jobs went elsewhere. People lost their homes, and they questioned their old sense of identity. And it was in that place and the beginnings of all social media that I kind of found my space, found my audience, and also had the time that I was able to just totally step out.
How cool is that? Right place, right time. And I think it's always fascinating to me how a lot of people come from these places in life where we don't feel we should have been, we don't feel we belonged, but all of a sudden, years later, we're able to take those experiences and help us step out and add credibility and integrity and authenticity to the people that we talk to because of those experiences. And I just find that fascinating.
That's a great segue into today's interview, or just point about it, because here's this. If I had not been brought up to have a future career of 40-something years in a profession of law that I had no interest in a part of the country I didn't want to live in, namely like New York, New Jersey, too cold. And had I not gotten to the point at age 23 when I couldn't get out of my own chair to go to law school to please my parents and a family that had always expected this of me, I would have never moved forward and spoken with the passion that I have, because this was my life. I wasn't authentic. I wasn't being my true self. And as a young child, I spent all of my years trying to please others and feeling very stifled and stunted. So I relate to people in so many ways. We all have our own stories,
yes,
but everyone has their own details to their own story. But the universal theme being, is this really who I am? Is this who I want to become? Do I feel empowered and fully me wherever I am? And do I feel like a harmonized individual? And so those are some of the universal messages that I attempt to get out there through, whether I speak with regular people, everybody's a regular person, or universities or
right,
national young leadership organizations abroad, because it's a universal concept. Am I being in this world all that I really want to be? And am I my best version of self?
Absolutely.
And a lot of times the answer is not quite.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're always a project in work, but to be able to, as an individual, and to be able to learn how to at least put your toe in the water and be encouraged and get some self-confidence and get away from the rat race long enough to believe in yourself. Man, that's a chore for some folks, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I know for a lot of people, it's so daunting. So, one thing that I offer, I could think of people that have incredibly busy jobs or busy lives with little kids and responsibilities. But what I always think is what I used to do. I would get up extra early in the morning, even if it meant 5 minutes. I would spend a little bit of time checking in. Where is my day going? Where do I want it to go? Is there one reminder I can give myself with and anchor myself in that thought, in that belief, and keep myself in that space throughout the day as I get all these other things coming my way? And then the other 5 minutes of the day would be at the end of the day to go back and say, all right, where's my best moment where I felt the most expansive and free and most like myself? And how can I replicate that? And then where, if anywhere, did I feel like I compromised myself? I was around the wrong kinds of people, giving my let's say, away. And how can I adjust that accordingly? So 5 minutes at the beginning, at the end of every day, to kind of reflect is a beginning that I think everybody could find 5 minutes.
Absolutely right. And the hard part for many, because we're going 125 miles an hour and, I'm sorry, I don't have time for dinner with my kids. And guess what? You do. You have 5 minutes in the morning, you have 5 minutes in the afternoon, and you just have to commit, right? You have to show up.
Yes, and it does. It takes a certain amount of intention.
Yeah.
But the thing is that intention really helps us to find a sense of peace and harmony.
Yeah. There are many glowing testimonials on your website. One that stuck out to me, Maura's talent for branding extends beyond herself. She can meet you and in less than 5 minutes discern your major philosophy, strengths, and goals. She then converts these into key sentences which begin the branding of your vision. And when it came time to seriously upgrade my professional visibility, I chose to become a client of Maura's. I highly recommend you do the same. That is high praise on steroids. That's a wonderful gift you shared with that.
Well, David, something? That's another one of those talents. I can't say I learned it in school, but it served me so well in my corporate leadership roles because I know how to hire or find talent train talent, and then identify everyone's expertise and then turn them into stars. I love it. So I could meet somebody in 5 minutes anywhere at a social event, and there's something about my ability to see beyond what others see, and I could pick up the unique talents, attributes, skills, life stories, passions that someone has that differentiates them from someone else. I tell you, I wish I could do it as well with myself as I do with other people, but I love it because I love promoting other people, especially people with something good.
And how does that, I would think that translates quite easily for you, not so much for me, but it would translate into team building, right? Smaller businesses, larger businesses. I mean, businesses of any kind. Anytime anybody can put a spotlight on how to spot, understand, and promote people to be the best version that they can, why wouldn't they want to talk to you?
Well, you would think. No. Here's the thing, because I talk about happiness and a culture where people feel happy and inspired, empowered, and basically free to express themselves and be a part of a greater mission. And I had about a decade in 2 corporations where I was in leadership, and that was what I did. I experimented with what makes for a great sense of camaraderie. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, I discovered, goodness, it was several decades ago, that when people feel happy and empowered and free to speak and express themselves and be part of something bigger, that people do so much better than if they are closed down from above or, let's say, mismanaged to the extent of maybe someone playing mind games with them or keeping them pigeonholed. I love empowering people to be more, because those kinds of things actually helped me to be a far better leader and to get my own accolades from senior management and I would say the corporations, even the chairman, for having done a great job, because I loved spotlighting and developing and promoting great people.
Well, and the other thing that you do when you do all that, in my mind, is you help them create a culture. And not everybody understands how important a culture is, both positively and negatively. And so for your talents to be able to go in and help a company actually create a culture where everybody can thrive, that's unknown territory for a lot of CEOs.
It is. And a lot of the management that I did for the 2 corporations I was with, I was fortunate in that I was far away. I had my own branch offices, so I developed my own style. And what I realized only later on is that I was not the norm. I was the exception. But it worked, and it worked consistently and repeatedly. And so I love being able to bring those kinds of concepts into any kind of a corporate environment, any kind of environment where people need to work together. And I think it takes a lot of courage to be that kind of a leader, because it means you could be vulnerable. You don't know everything when you open up the spectrum to other people's perspectives. It takes a certain amount of integrity, but in the long run, you get so much more value out of your people. You attract better quality of people. You end up with a lot of more loyal people.
Yes.
And the odd thing, if I could mention this, is that Harvard University spent 7 years, I believe, doing studies on this and found out from an empirical standpoint that when people are in happier environments, and I would say, again, translate that to freer, they feel free to be their authentic selves, they'll perform up to 50% better. So I did it in my own laboratory, and then Harvard years later went on to prove it through their own studies.
I love that. Oh, my gosh. And that explains why you travel around the world so much, speaking to small groups, large groups, universities, leadership, students. I mean, your experience and the message you bring is open to everybody of any culture, anywhere.
It is. And you know something? People know, I'll bring out a lot of visuals for people to look at and to speak about what they see. And I believe, David, most people know that truth within them, but they are constantly superimposed with all the training that they get externally from the commonplaces that they find themselves in, which is why I speak a lot about self-leadership and becoming a person of influence, so that even if you, as a staff member or as a member of a group, can start implementing some of these new changes of thought that you really know to be truth within you, that you can start helping to make some positive and progressive movements toward better ways of interacting with your fellow man and your leadership and whomever it is, your clients, your customers, your new hires, everyone. It's sort of a ripple effect that goes towards something better.
Well, and when you are with somebody that starts to explore, understand, and manifest that kind of energy and leadership, and all of a sudden you're rubbing shoulders with somebody, you go, oh, that kind of feels good. I'm going to tag along with you for a while, and then, I'm going to tag along with you for a while, and then all of a sudden you got a whole bunch of people getting in line to work with these people because there's so much trust and authenticity going on.
You're right, and a lot of positive energy. And one of the things I noticed is that I never needed to pontificate when I was a manager. I didn't have to do that. Mm-hmm. People knew the culture they were brought into. It was modeled everywhere and consistently. So people naturally just stepped up. They knew certain remarks wouldn't be good. They would know that, let's say, speaking ill of someone else around them or looking to stab somebody behind the back or doing anything in a negative fashion wasn't going to work. And so they just stopped with that behavior and they naturally rose up to the next level. And a lot of them have said to me in the future, Maura, I didn't even realize this. We had so much competition, but it wasn't competition that was negative. It's that everybody kept doing better. We were happy for everybody else, but then we kept thinking, well, I better up my own game. And they said it was a lot of fun. It was positive competition.
Yeah, and the other part of that is if they don't want to play, they can leave, and that just improves the quality of everybody else, right?
Very true. And if I could add a caveat here,
Please.
Before I would hire anyone, not only would I interview them twice, but everyone in the front room, the receptionists, the secretaries, had to give a pass on them or thumbs down. And then they would spend time with at least 2 other people, members of our staff. And by the time they were given a thumbs up and brought on, they knew they were accepted completely by the team. So the team had to accept them as well as me. Because, some people want to put on a great face for the manager, but not necessarily for people that they may be working alongside of. And so there was this great sense like, whoa, I made it through. I must be really good. And so it started right from the get-go.
I love it. We've only got a couple of minutes left, and I want to make sure that people know how to reach out to you. I'm looking at your 6 books that you have available on Amazon, and The Art of Happiness, volumes 1 through 6, if I'm reading it correctly. And I mean, the Kindle versions are only $250, man. So you got to get that. You got to get those books. The free download of your quotes is fascinating to me. I've already got that. And so people want to get a hold of you, have you speak, have you teach, have you coach. What's the best way to do that?
Well, the best way would be right to my name, Maura, M as in Mary, A-U-R-A, at same name, Maura, M as in Mary, A-U-R-A, the number 4, the letter U, the number .com. Boy, I'm making it too confusing. Maura at moreforyou.com.
Easy enough.
And moreforyou.com.
And then she's going to change it to I am the ambassador of happiness.com.
I have to just say, Maura for You, my husband gave me that title years ago. He said, Maura, I've never seen anyone who's such an advocate for other people. He said, you are for everyone, including people I don't like. He said, call your website Maura for You, because whoever you are, you're for that person. So that's how I got the moniker before even being called Ambassador of Happiness.
That's a smart man. That's a smart man.
He is.
Congratulations. Yeah, just as well. Congratulations on your success, how you touch people, how you reach out to people. Folks, go to the website, Maura, the number 4, the letter U, Maura 4U.com, and you'll learn all about the Ambassador of Happiness. You can check out the podcast. There's great videos on there of testimonials and of Maura. So spend some time on the website, and you'll have an epiphany or 7 along the way. Maura, thank you so much. Really enjoyed it.
David, thank you.
Listen to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower on the go. Downloads are available on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, any podcast app, and on our website at davidbrowervo.com/your20-minute podcast. Until next time, thank you for listening.